Keep up to date with everything this year on Twitter, SoundCloud, YouTube, and WordPress.
Hello guys, and welcome to the Friday review for Diary of a Mercedes Fan for the 2016 Canadian Grand Prix. The first day of action has been completed. FP1 and FP2 has concluded. FP2 just finishing about 10 minutes ago. So there's quite a lot to get through in the next 10 minutes or so. So let's get down to business. FP1, well, not really much happened unfortunately in FP1. I think for the first 20 minutes to half an hour the track was quite green, so nobody went out, and obviously you have to give away your tyres for the first 40 minutes, but gradually at that point people started to go out on track and get the tyres that they needed and the programs that they were going to complete. And for a Mercedes perspective, or a good session for us. We finished 1 and 2, but 36 minutes left of the session. Rosberg sets the fastest time when Mercedes were quite far down in the timesheets before then. Rosberg sets a 1:15.746 on the ultra soft tyre to go fastest, and then only 2 minutes after that, with 34 minutes left of the session, Hamilton goes even quicker on the super soft with a 1:14.980 on the super soft tyres I just mentioned. Vettel was in 4th in that session. Max Verstappen in the Red Bull was 5th, and Verstappen was 4th, my apologies, in the Red Bull, and Kimi Raikkonen for Ferrari rounded out the top 5. So for the FP1, it was quite interesting because obviously everyone started to do their things a little bit later in the session, then everyone went out. Traffic was a major factor, and grip levels as well in this session was not that high that we're used to expecting from certain sessions, but the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve doesn't get used that much during the year between Grand Prix, so there's always kind of FP1's always more than likely used to kind of get everything up to speed, and is quite green, so the times are not usually that representative in FP1 of the weekend. But still, a lot of people going off at the final corner, more than usual, but overall not really much to report from FP1. I have to be honest here, it was actually quite a boring session, but to be fair, you have to watch these things. You have to the teams still have to do what they have to do, even if it's not that quite interesting for fans and people that are at the track alike. But we move on briefly to FP2, and FP2 a little bit more interesting, obviously. FP1 was a bit dull in my personal opinion, but there we go. FP2, obviously, once again, from a Mercedes perspective, was good. We finished P1 with Hamilton in that session, P3, so Hamilton does the clean sweep of Friday, topping both practice sessions, so that's always positive. But, obviously went out a little bit more earlier in this session, and first run down for Hamilton went fastest with a 1:15.343, and then went to a 1:14.941. Rosberg then went fastest with a 1:14.751, and then Hamilton responded with a 1:14.212. Then also Rosberg embettered his time to go into P3 for a 1:14.738, and everyone started going into their long runs, and that was how the session transpired, really. Not really much action for the rest of the field to in terms of hot laps, most people were starting to do their long run programs, and for Mercedes on the long run, it looked pretty decent. I have to say, not not too bad. I mean, I don't think we're going to be in too much. We're not going to be in too. We're going to be okay for the race. We're going to be there or thereabouts in terms of tyre wear and race pace. Compared to the Ferraris and Red Bulls, I'd say that we're placed quite well. We're in a good position. Um, Red Bull had a little bit of trouble, I think, on the super soft tyre. They didn't get to run it as fast as they and as long as they wanted to. So that's going to be quite interesting. But the temperatures are meant to be lower tomorrow, so that FP2 session that we just had, I think, is crucial for all the teams, because some of the information that they need to get from some of the information that they need to get from here, it might not necessarily be the same for tomorrow, obviously because of the temperatures being low, and obviously we know that the ultra soft tire doesn't particularly work that well in lower temperatures. So there we go. But to conclude FP2, it was quite interesting because you had the Ferrari right in there, splitting the two Mercedes, and then you had the Red Bull. So at the moment, I don't really know where you can call it from that one, because it was quite close. It was quite close between Ferrari. It was quite close between Red Bull and quite close between Mercedes. I think obviously we're still the benchmark Mercedes. We're still the benchmark team out there, so that's always positive to see. But I definitely do think that there's going to be some big competition from Red Bull and Ferrari, especially if we do not capitalise on the opportunity that we get over the weekend. That's if we do manage to secure pole position and go on to win the race. I think one other thing is interesting. Ferrari electing to run to kind of avoid using the Ultrasoft too much in that session, which kind of shows you where they're probably more leaning towards for qualifying. Super soft was used quite a lot by Red Bull, and that made me thinking, are they going to try and do to see whether it's worth doing what they did in Monaco again, where they run the super soft in Q2, and while everyone qualifies on the ultra soft, run the super soft and then go long in the first stint, so they've got the option of running long anyway. But that will be quite interesting to see in itself, to see how that transpires over the weekend. But so far, it does look like it's going to be a lot more of a competitive weekend between Ferrari, between Mercedes, and between Red Bull. Red Bull definitely look close to Mercedes. Ferrari definitely look close to Red Bull. So we've got a three-way fight here, I think, in terms for the top six. A quick mention, Williams looked nice and strong, so that was quite nice to see them back in the fold, having a more positive weekend. It's always nice to kind of get, after Felipe Massa having his practice crash earlier on in the FP1, it was a bit of a shame that that happened, but Williams also confirmed that was a DRS failure and that it didn't shut down properly. But also what's quite interesting as well is that Toto Wolff and Maurizio Arrivabene seen talking in the paddock, which over at the Mercedes, in the Mercedes hospitality. So that'll be quite interesting to see what that transpires from that later. Tomorrow we might find out what both of them are talking about. But then there we go, team principals do talk with each other. But just to round the top six off from the FP2 session, Lewis Hamilton was fastest, Sebastian Vettel was second, Nico Rosberg was third, Max Verstappen fourth in the Red Bull, Daniel Ricciardo fifth, Valtteri Bottas in sixth place for Williams, as I said, positive session for him, Jensen in the McLaren P7, Kimi Raikkonen eighth, and also another mention to the Force Indias, I'll get onto that in a second. Nico Hülkenberg was 9th, Carlos Sainz was 10th, Fernando Alonso was 11th, and Sergio Perez was 12th. Felipe Massa was 13th, and the rest of the guys, as you well know, down below in the field are usually where they're placed anyway. So, but Force India, I forgot to mention them, and they deserve a little bit of a quick star for kind of keeping an eye on them for the weekend, because even though they finished 9th and 12th here, I still think that Force India looked very good on their long run, and especially with the tyres. They definitely seem to be at home with the tyres that they've chosen, so that's fantastic. And if they can they should be looking to have quite a strong weekend here as well. Force India looking good, Toro Rosso looking good, so the fight for the top 10 is going to be quite interesting as well. But I'm going to leave it here for Friday review. Not really much happened today. Well, literally 3 hours of Formula 1 action, and yeah, I mean, it was trying to pick the bones out of that was quite interesting, because there was not really a lot happened. People just did their programs, and everyone got through what they needed to do. In the FP2 session, the soft and ultra soft was used with Rosberg and Hamilton. Also, the soft and super soft were used. No, sorry, the soft and super soft were used for some of the guys, like down near the field, a little bit lower in the standings. But some people contra strategied and used ultra soft with soft or super soft with soft. So it's quite interesting to see the variation between tyres. Red Bulls used super soft and ultra soft, so that's another one as to show what people were leaning towards for their strategy for the weekend. But to conclude, and to generally let's get a concise picture of what it was like on Friday, Mercedes still look like the team to beat going into tomorrow FP3 and qualifying, but it's very close between Ferrari and Red Bull, and I think FP3 is going to be the litmus test to see which team has definitely done their homework and who is ahead. The temperatures are forecast to be a little bit cooler for tomorrow, so that's going to make that more interesting to see between Ferrari and Red Bull, to see who's on top. But then again, you never know. Red Bull could get ahead, Ferrari could get ahead of Mercedes, so it's not all over yet. We do have an FP3 session and the qualifying session to go. But I'm going to be back tomorrow again for the Saturday review to talk about everything that's happened in FP3 and qualifying, so that should be interesting. But at the moment, Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg at the top of the timesheets in FP1 and in the top 3 for FP2. So from a Mercedes perspective, it's all looking good, positive, no real problems to worry about, and yeah, looking like another positive weekend for Mercedes in Montreal.
Keep up to date with everything this year on Twitter, SoundCloud, YouTube, and WordPress.